Welcome to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We're two physical therapists living the life in Las Vegas. I'm Dr. Erica.
And I'm Dr. Joe. We created this podcast for two reasons. First, to connect the healthcare, wellness, and fitness communities in Las Vegas. And second, to highlight all the amazing people we've met along the way.
Thank you for listening, and remember to take care of yourself.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Sure. My name is Kristi Vaccaro. I own Fit LV Fitness and Nutrition, and I am a local personal trainer, but I also have a remote fitness business working with, everyone from the pregnant mom to the seasoned veteran in the gym and everyone in between.
Very good. What brought you to Vegas?
Oh, let's see. So I actually owned a personal training studio in Illinois. I went to Illinois State and am from Quincy, Illinois originally, and I owned a personal training studio there with someone, and we split. And there was this moment of, what do I do now? Where am I going to live? And what am I going to do? And I never wanted to live in Illinois long term. If you've been to the Midwest, you know the winters are gnarly. So I actually was living with one of my clients at the time, and we had kind of a vision board of like where I saw my life going. And I put a few different locations down. I put Colorado Springs, Colorado, Cancun, Mexico, and Las Vegas. And there were reasons for all. So Cancun, my buddy that I met at a CrossFit seminar actually in Cancun, he owns CrossFit Revolver. And he was like, hey, you can move down here for a month and do kind of like a sabbatical and just, immerse yourself here and learn Spanish. And I was like, wow, what a great opportunity. But I had a dog and I was like, well, who's going to keep my dog? And then if I take my dog has to get vaccinated. It was just like this whole thing. And I'm like, and then what do I do after that 30 days? It didn't seem like there was a next step from that. And then Colorado Springs, I would be living with my brother who was stationed in the Army at the time. My brother, his wife, and they had 2 kids at the time. And I knew they wanted a third. And so I would have been sleeping in the guest room, kind of relying on them. And it also snows there, which I was trying to get away from the snow. So then I was like, Vegas. All right. I don't know anyone really. I knew 2 people, sort of. I didn't have a job. I didn't know anyone, but I knew the weather was great. There's plenty of people, to make my fitness business successful. And so it seemed kind of like the scariest, but I would have to rely on myself. So I packed up my 2-door Jeep Wrangler with my dog in the front seat, and I left and I came out here. So
what was the first move then when you came out here? So you have your stuff and your dog. Then what do you do?
So I had my stuff and my dog. So I did actually line up a part-time job before I came out here because I am a little bit more responsible than just completely winging it. I flew out here the month before I moved. This was September of 2014. And I took some firearms courses. I took my armed guard class, I took my CCW, and I took all these firearms courses before I even got my driver's license. I just got these certifications, and I got a job at a security company as a security manager, as an armed security manager, graveyard shift. And so I had that lined up, and I moved out here, and I met a guy when I was actually here on vacation. He was like a bouncer at Coyote Ugly. And we just stayed in touch on social media because he was super into fitness. And it was just like super platonic, like just, friendship through fitness. And he saw that I was moving out here. He goes, I rent the rooms out of my house, $300. And I was like, sold. And so I, had a place to stay, $300 a month. And I had a part-time job. And so that was my first move. And then someone messaged me. I was powerlifting at the time. And they're like, hey, where are you going to train? And I was like, I don't know. Well, there's this gym. Come train with us. So after the drive with me and my dog, the next day I went to this gym. It was called Iron House. And I started working out there, and I asked them if I could work their front desk, just like give them my time to try and meet people and slowly build up clientele. And so I was doing the security job and the front desk at this gym trying to like meet people and build clients.
So did you do that for free? You just volunteered your time, or?
Yeah. So I couldn't afford a rent payment at the gym, so it was kind of my trade, my time to train, hopefully, clients as I met people. So just had to figure it out as I went.
That's a smart way to do it too. A lot of people don't realize when you start your own business, you will work for free quite a lot at some point. But that's a good way of doing it, especially get you exposure and get you in front of people and start meeting people in the industry. So what got you into fitness then, but originally?
So I grew up in a household where my dad was always kind of on that next trendy diet. Like Atkins was a big one when I was growing up. So my dad was on Atkins, and then there was Nutrisystem and, all these different like kind of crash diets. And he would get on these diets. But what I learned from it was like the discipline of like focusing on one specific plan. And while I don't agree with these like super hardcore like crash diet trends, I did see a lot of discipline, and I learned that from an early age from a fitness standpoint, a nutrition standpoint, and just hard work in general. And so I watched him, get up in the morning. He was in law enforcement. He'd get up, he'd do his cardio, he'd work all day, get off, go do his lifting, come home, meal prep. And so I grew up in that kind of household environment that was actually unhealthy in retrospect. But like I said, I did gain some good, I guess, knowledge on discipline and what it takes. And then I was a dancer and a gymnast. I ended up going to college for dance, but in college, in the dance industry, it's all about, this specific aesthetic, which is not a lot of muscle. It's very lean physique. You want to see like really, flowing lines, in ballet. And so I had a couple instructors that were like, hey, don't lift too much at the gym. Like, we're going to do Pilates and we're going to do core and lots of cardio, and don't put on any muscle. Like that's not, and even before my tattoos and my muscle, I still wasn't the prima ballerina aesthetic they were looking for. So once I realized that my dancing career dreams probably weren't going to work out, I ended up dropping out of college, and the guy I was dating at the time was a personal trainer. And I was going to college for dance education, so I knew I wanted to teach some sort of movement. And so with the background of growing up in this fitness household, plus the 3 years of college that I had with, education and just teaching in general, it was just a really nice fit, and I love people. And so I got into personal training, and just every year have added certifications and continuing education. And it's just, I'm 11 years in now.
So when you were a dancer and ballerina, were you into lifting weights at that time?
So not in the capacity that I'm in now. I was more of like the machines person at the gym. I'd never had formal training with weightlifting. And when I first started working out, like hard, I was kind of in like a machine type gym, and I learned some free weight squatting and deadlifting, but it wasn't until I went to, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Arnold, like sports convention. It's in Columbus, Ohio every year. I went to the Arnold, and it was actually right after CrossFit. I think the first CrossFit Games, or like the second. Rich Froning won, and it was the first year he won, and he was actually at a little table, and I went up and I like shook his hand, and I think they had just adopted their first baby, and like I met Rich Froning, and then I met some of like these bodybuilder competitors that I had idolized. And I was at like this crossroads of, do I want to get into like bodybuilding because I thought that I did, or do I want to get into CrossFit because I saw like the community of people that like followed them. And I left that convention, and I started at CrossFit the next week. And it's funny because it was a bodybuilding convention, but I met like a ton of CrossFitters, and I went with my buddy who owned a CrossFit gym. I just never went to his gym, and I was like, I think I love this. It wasn't so focused on just the aesthetic. It was more the community and the hard work.
I think a lot of people don't realize that too. The community is the biggest part. Like people that are outside CrossFit looking in, they don't realize that the people that are in there kind of become your family.
Yeah.
And then you like look forward, like, oh, why is Jim not in the class today?
Yeah.
And people worry about you.
Yeah. And that was the one thing I think I was, when I was working out previously it was just very much focused on myself, and like, in bodybuilding, it's just, how are you going to look on stage and what are your workouts and you're this, this, and this. And then CrossFit is the community. And if you're, in a workout that has an 800-meter run and you see someone, well, at least for me, if I'm running, part of it's because I don't love running, but if I see someone like lagging behind, I'm going to slow down and be like, come on, like you can do it. Part of that's the coach in me, but part of it's like the community, you want to see everyone succeed.
Yeah, I mainly run if a dog's chasing me. That's about my extent of my running.
Someone told me that I needed to, it was my friend, she's a local therapist. She said, because I used to say, I hate running. I hate it. And she was like, Kristi, you just need to change the narrative. You're telling yourself that you hate running. And if you change the narrative and you say, running is a challenge, but I can do hard things, you'll hate it less. And I was like, I call bullshit. Right? But anyways, long story short, I've been running for the past, year more consistently. And I just ran my fastest 5K on Sunday. It was like 27 something, which was pretty impressive for me considering my mile time was like a start, stop, walk, run, like just cluster of like 11 minutes. So I've improved my running, and that was without stopping.
That's awesome.
It's impressive, yeah.
Yeah, didn't you? You did a 5K for Thanksgiving too, right? I remember we got an invite from you. We weren't able to make it.
That one, the Thanksgiving one, actually got canceled
because
of COVID. But I put on a boot camp at a random park, and everyone that had planned on doing that run with me ended up coming to do the boot camp. So we still got together. That's that accountability piece. Still got together.
So what are the other things you do in Vegas for fun?
Well, I have a 2.5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a husband and 2 dogs. So anytime that we are not working, we do things as a family. We love to take them to different parks in town. We like to explore. We like to, on Wednesday nights, we like to go out for a family date night. The boys were getting upset that we were taking too many date nights without them. So they think it's really special when we invite them on a date. So every Wednesday night we do a family date night, and like we'll go to dinner, early dinner. I never understood why people would go to dinner like 4:30, and that's totally me now. Like we used to be the like 8:30 p.m. dinner, and like the swanky place. And now we're like, let's make a reservation for 4:15. So we went to dinner, and then we went to a park, and then came home and like lit the tiki torches and just hung out in the backyard. Like we're pretty simple people. And my family is, for someone who never imagined having kids, like it's cool. I love it's cool being a mom. It's hard, but it's pretty cool watching like 2 little humans develop that like you created, and everything that you do like shapes their minds and who they are. It's like both scary and awesome at the same time.
What are some of the things you've learned about being a mom? Maybe things you didn't expect.
Oh man. Well, that patience is challenging. I guess I never considered my patience level prior to having kids. I don't know. It's just something I didn't think about. Like, am I a patient person? I guess. And then you have kids, and you're like, I have no patience. Wow. But yeah, I've learned, I do a lot of everything I do in life. I try and do to the best of my ability. So with parenting, there's a lot of resources and books on like child psychology and how their brain develops and their phases. And so, as far as the patience piece, kids have tantrums and big emotions, and you don't want to silence those emotions. And so for me, if I'm unable to keep my emotions in check, how do I expect them to? And so in a moment where I might get angry and yell or something because I'm frustrated that they're frustrated, well, what does that teach? Like, I can't expect them to like chill if I can't chill. So I've learned a lot about just myself and my emotions and like how to control and like breathe through situations. I guess coping strategies versus coping mechanisms. And then just like slowing myself down and like enjoying the moment. But parenting, I didn't think I would talk about poop, pee, and farting as much as I do, like every single day. My life, like with 3 boys, is just like my 4-year-old puts the word fart in front of everything and like thinks it's hilarious. It is like, I don't know like how to foster that.
We'll have him on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, he's hilarious, but it's like everything is just about poop and farting, and I can't keep shoes on them, which is fine, but like we'll be driving and I'll get hit in the head with a shoe or a monster truck, which I know about 30 different monster truck names. And my husband and I took a trip to Mexico, and so he picked out one specific monster truck that we could take with us. And so the whole plane ride, I had this El Toro Loco monster truck, and I was like taking I'm the mom on the plane, like, El Toro Loco's looking out the plane. He's sipping my coffee. He's riding on my luggage. He's waiting with my passport. And then we're on the beach, and I'm like, all right, Steve, make a monster truck ramp out of the sand. I'm like, he's on the sand. He's looking at the whales. And so, yeah, once again, like back to that, I never thought I would be a parent thing. I just didn't picture this for my life, but it's fun and it's cool. And it's, I showed him the videos, and he still talks about El Toro Loco getting to go to Mexico.
So the truck got to go, but the kids stayed at home. Okay.
Yes, the kids didn't go on that trip, just the truck. And so every morning when we'd FaceTime him, I was like, here's your truck. He's having fun. He's on my shoulder,
Does the truck join for family date night?
2 trucks always get to go. We don't do a lot of, they don't have iPads or phones or any screens. So, and I don't pack a huge bag of toys when we go places. So they'll always pick, typically if they want, they'll pick 2 things. Sometimes they'll pick like 30 things. And I'm like, you can have 2 items, 1 for each hand. So typically they'll pick 2 monster trucks. Could be different ones every time. El Toro Loco sometimes gets to go, and other times it's Son of a Digger.
Yeah.
I like Son of a Digger. That's awesome.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I loved monster trucks too. There's something about watching them like ramp and smash a bunch of cars. It's awesome
Have you been
time.
to Monster Jam?
I have not. Where's that at?
Well, so it came to Vegas 2 years ago, and then there was one. It was supposed to be maybe not January. No, I bought him the tickets in January of 2020 for his birthday. I think it was supposed to be in March, and it got canceled. I'm not a woo girl, and I was a woo girl at Monster Jam. Like, it was so cool. There's a girl, a female driver. Her name's Cynthia. I think it's like Gunther or something. They have something called the freestyle, and it's 30 seconds to do whatever you want. And, like, you can do backflips with your truck. You can ramp. You can do whatever. She just does a full send and, like, is driving, hits the ramp as fast as her truck will go, and just, like, launches it. She lands. It rolls. It crashes. I didn't know who the driver was. She opens the door because everyone, like, gets quiet because it was a huge crash. It was a huge send and then a crash. And she gets out. She takes her helmet off and, like, shakes her hair out and, like, fist pumps. And I was like, whoa, like straight up woo girl status. And it was like the coolest thing I saw all year. And there's an epic YouTube video of it too.
Nice. We'll check it out.
That's awesome. So you talked about coping mechanisms versus coping strategies. You want to touch base on like how you use that with like your kids and like what that even means?
Yeah. So coping mechanisms would be things like alcohol, drugs, screen time, stuff that like makes you just like zone out, shut off your brain and not like actually address what's going on like in your mind and your body. And coping strategies would be things like just breathing, journaling, just things that are, I guess, a more positive assessment of like what is happening. And so I'll use my 2-year-old for an example. When he's having a tantrum, I will give him some space, but once he's a little bit more in control or if he's really upset, I'll just hold him and we'll breathe together. And so sometimes I'll just breathe like really intensely so he can like feel my body breathing, and I'll like blow out like really heavily. And then I'll say, okay, buddy, let's take some deep breaths. And I'll say stuff like in through your nose, like you're smelling cookies, exhale through your mouth, like you're blowing out a candle. And I'll just get him to start like breathing with me. And then I'll feel his body like relax. And so that'll relax me in the moment, but it'll also relax him in the moment, because when toddlers are tantruming and they're just like, you know, so tense in their chests and they're not taking these deep breaths. And then when you see their little bodies like relax, you know that they're kind of coming down out of that tantrum. So doing the breathing, I read a book, it was called Raising Lions, and it's by far the best parenting book I've ever read. And you can actually apply the principles in it from like 2 years old all the way up to 18-year-olds. The author gives examples where he was working with some, I guess, in a troubled youth home, and he had some 18-year-olds, which are adults, you know, by age, and he was working with these 18-year-olds, and he was sending them on these minute-long breaks, which gets them to, you know, you're not yelling, you're not shaming, you're just saying, I need you to go take a break. And that 1 minute break gives the person just a little bit of time, and you're not yelling at them, so they're not like feeling angry. They might be angry that they got removed from the situation, but it's just a minute, and it's just long enough. But the minute has to be silent. So if I send my kid on a break and he's crying, the minute doesn't start until he stops crying, and that gives him time to like just control his emotions. But if he's tantruming, I'll go back to that coping where we're breathing, and I'll hold him for a second, get him to calm down and just be one with his thoughts. So in my own life, if I'm stressed out about something and I notice maybe I'm scrolling on Instagram and I'm really just kind of like blocking out what I need to be doing, it's kind of like a coping mechanism, right? Because I'm just like ignoring what I need to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe the coping strategy in that moment would be to sit down and make a list and prioritize my tasks. You know, if I'm stressed out and like, I need a glass of wine. Okay, well, why am I stressed? I'll take a walk outside, get some fresh air, do some deep breaths, and see if I can calm myself down without feeling like I need to resort to alcohol as a coping mechanism after a long day.
What's interesting too about breath work, we do that with some of our people as well. People that seem very high strung, or that can't relax, or that talk really fast, or that like stutter a lot with their words, they almost can never breathe correctly. Like they only breathe through their chest, and they can't just breathe through their belly. Have you noticed that as a trend with your clients as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the stress and the breath work 100% coincide. And, you know, we carry so much tension and stress, like you said, up in our chest and our neck. And, you know, we're so tense and just can't relax. And breathing is like the hardest thing to teach someone how to do. And I literally use the cookie and the candle like analogies to try and, or like a balloon, like breathe like you're trying to blow up a balloon, like trying to get people to understand how to take those full breaths and, like you said, relax.
It's an art form for sure. It's not an easy thing, but it helps a lot. I've seen people that have, you know, neck or shoulder things sometimes, and teach them a lot of breath work. Makes a big difference for them. Yeah,
I'm hoping that doing these little things with my kids when they're high strung and stressed will transfer into their adulthood, and the like learning it now, they'll remember it and just kind of apply those when they get stressed out, maybe in school or get in a fight with their friends. Maybe they'll take some deep breaths before, you know, punching a kid on the school bus or something.
That's good. Have you read any of Jocko Willink's kids books yet?
I know who he is. I have not heard his kids books yet.
I think he has 2 or 3 of them out now, but they're really good. They teach kids more about like personal responsibility, and a lot of kids have more of a fixed mindset. Like, I'm just not good at math, or I'm just not good at whatever this activity is.
Yeah.
They don't realize you have to learn things.
Yeah.
I mean, people go to their 30s and 40s not realizing that skills aren't just inherently intrinsic most of the time. It's really something that you're putting time into.
Yeah.
But that book does a really good job. If you read the reviews, like people that are adults will say, hey, I know it's a kid's book.
I read it. For sure.
I know it's a kid's book.
Like, it helps me.
Yeah. I'll check that out for sure. You know, that's funny that you said that, like, even into adulthood. And that's like one of the things with my programming and my, you know, the foundation of my business. I'm really working with the everyday person and helping them just shape their lives in a healthier way. So I'm not working with high level athletes. I'm not working with one type of person. I'm working with the everyday person. But I get that feedback so often of, well, I don't know how to cook, or, I'm not familiar with this type of exercise. Like, for instance, my programming has both dumbbell and barbell options. When I created this program, all you needed was dumbbells and bands. But I have, over the last year, my clients are obtaining more equipment. And so they're like, oh, well, I have a barbell. So now what should I do? So to avoid writing 100 different programs based on everyone's accessibility, I have options. If you have a barbell, you're going to do this many reps and this many sets and some percentage work. If you have dumbbells, we're going to, do this many reps with tempo or whatever. But for like the dumbbell or for the barbell work, it's written out E2M times 5 every 2 minutes times 5 sets, right? To a novice, that might be really confusing. What's E2M times 5? Even though underneath it says every 2 minutes for 5 sets, complete this. Visually, it's overwhelming. I see percentages and numbers and letters, and I don't know how to do it. And so I put out a video the other day, and I was like, hey, guys, no one knows how to do it at first. Everyone has to learn. Everyone has to take time. It's like if you're really eager about a new job and you walk into the office, you're not going to know everything, but you're eager to learn. Approach your fitness journey and approach learning skills in the kitchen in the same manner. But for some reason, there are these like hang-ups with certain things. And it's like, you wanted to drive when you were 16, right? You learned, you were patient, you were excited to go to driver's ed, you were excited to learn to eventually get your driver's license. So approach your fitness and approach your nutrition in the same way. Be excited to go into the kitchen and learn how to bake chicken for the first time. And I tell you, we have so many free resources. When people tell me, they're like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, I could literally learn how to do anything from YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, you can YouTube the most bizarre, like how to fix insert the most random object. And there's a YouTube video out there about it. So when people say they can't figure out, they don't know how to do something, you just don't want to know how to do it. Because that just gives you kind of an out from doing the hard things that will make you better.
And it is hard to start new things, I think, for people as well. So people get comfortable with, they've already learned how to drive, they've learned life skills where they're pretty comfortable with what they do day to day. And then it might have been maybe 10, 15 years before someone's actually put in the time to learn some kind of a new skill.
Yeah.
And I think that they just fall out of that learning pattern. Because when you're a kid, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
You have to learn to not touch the stove because it's hot.
Yeah.
So you have to learn a lot when you're a kid in order to make it as far as we have right now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting just to see how people, they almost lose that. And I don't know if it's because of social media has maybe made it worse where people compare themselves to fake stuff that they see all the time. Like maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I just think it's interesting that as adults, they act like they just completely lost the skill to learn anything new.
I was talking to my client yesterday about untapped potential and how I feel like I'm surrounded by talented people, and just from painters to musicians to PTs, I'm surrounded by talent. And I don't know how you can live a life knowing that you literally have one chance. Like, you only get one life. And people just are fine with going through the motions of their day-to-day and not living out their potential, not learning any new skills, not doing things to the best of their ability. And it's like, how? Like, I don't get it. Like, I know I have untapped potential, but I'm excited every day to do something a little bit better, knowing that there will be times where I'm quote unquote unmotivated, or which I think motivation's kind of bullshit. Like, you have to put in the work every day and your emotions towards that work will change. But there's no motivation fairy that's going to visit you and sprinkle you with motivation dust and be like, here's your motivation. Go do something great. Like, I get that question all the time. Like, how are you motivated? I'm like, I did not want to work out at 6 a.m. this morning at all. And I legitimately changed my alarm 3 different times from 5 to 5:15 to 5:20, knowing damn well I was getting my ass out of bed. Like, I was getting up. I was just like, maybe I won't, but it's just untapped potential. And I mean, maybe that's, survival of the fittest. Why not everyone succeeds? Because there are a lot of slugs.
Mm-hmm. People go on autopilot real easily, I've noticed. But part of that too, I think, is also the natural want for your brain to like conserve energy, and like learning new things is hard, and it spends resources and spends your time. Yeah. So it might be why maybe some people are averse to that, because evolutionarily speaking, that you're trying to save all the energy because what you're doing so far is kind of working. I don't know.
Well, if they conserve too much energy and do nothing when the zombies come, their ass is still going to be stuck to the couch because they haven't like sharpened their tools mentally or physically speaking.
That's right. They're just collecting resources for us at that point, so which is fine. Makes it easier.
I think the part of that is like the structure, right? Once you reach your like 18, 21, whatever, you have these things that you have, like you're going to go to this and you're going to do that. And then after that, there's nothing, and you have anything that you want to do. But the structure behind that is where people don't tend to learn. Like if you want to go do something, you can. It's just like, well, that takes effort. And sometimes I think, like you mentioned, it's like, well, I don't have to. So, I mean, I don't know how to, or I don't know where to do that. But there is, like you just type in a little search and there's the ability to go and you can learn something. But I think if also learning takes a lot of, like if you think about like your brain power and like metabolic demand, like that, it takes more repetition or like more energy to learn something new. So if you're having trouble sleeping, like go learn something new, because that actually can help your brain process new like skills, or like you're learning a subject, or you're learning how to do something with your hands. That all requires a lot of focus. Like if you notice, like if you're teaching somebody how to do something, you can't talk to them at the same time. Yeah. You can't be like, oh, I need to send this text message, but then you're going to try to teach somebody how to do the skill. They'll be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But that's because we can only focus on one thing at a time. But that's like another way to continue to learn something. Right. And that can carry over in so many different parts of your life.
Yeah, I've learned, people don't like to be uncomfortable, and discipline is lacking just across the board. Like discipline to do like small tasks. I mean, take the dishwasher example, and everyone will know this. You eat your food and you have a sink and you have a dishwasher. It's way easier to just put your bowl in the sink. But the dishwasher is there. Now, the dishwasher may have clean dishes in it, which requires unloading to put your bowl in. And there's this moment where it's like, whew. And I have a dirty clean magnet, so it's pretty obvious which it is. But I find dishes in the sink, Steve, when the dirty magnet's on the top. And it's like, this is a moment where it takes a few extra steps to open and put bowl in dishwasher and not in sink. Or what I have trained myself to do is while I'm heating the food, if the clean magnet's up, I'll multitask and unload the dishwasher. And that way, by the time I'm done, I flip the magnet and start the cycle over. But it's like discipline for little things. Like how many times you put something on the steps thinking, all right, the next time I go up the stairs, I'm going to take this with me. But like constantly surveying and having discipline to like put things away and leave things where you left them. And like, it's just, I think there's a carryover into every aspect of your life, and holding the standard of how you live your life. I do leave sock balls all around my house. I will not lie. Like suddenly my feet get hot and it's like I can't get my socks off fast enough, and I just like ball them up and throw them. So I need more discipline in the sock department, but I think we all have our things.
Yeah, it's interesting too, is the tiny little things that you do that don't seem like they're significant really can build towards more discipline. So coming home and you're kind of tired, but then, like you said, you just unload the dishwasher, or you hang a picture that you've been meaning to hang. You just force yourself to do something while you're a little bit tired. That's a real life example, right?
Yeah. Fun fact though, you don't have to rinse your dishes before you put them in the dishwasher. Some of our friends just like experiment with it, but they're like, no, we just like put it in there without even like rinsing it. And I'm like, no, like there's gonna get like food stuck in it. And they're like, no, like,
Because
just,
modern technology.
yeah, just like put it in there without rinsing it. And we're like, what? This is mind blowing. And then you pick it up the next day and it's like, whoa, it's actually clean.
I've got, my husband and I have gotten into multiple fights about that because I was never a dish rinser prior to insertion into the dishwasher. Steve would like straight up with the wand with soap, like, and I'm like, this is why you don't like doing the dishes or the dishwasher, because you pre-wash them before you put them in the dishwasher. It's like a 2-step process. No wonder you don't like doing it. Just throw them in the dishwasher. It's like, they're not going to get clean. So we did a similar experiment at our house.
Yeah, and it also helps too if you have dogs, because then you can just leave the plates there for a few seconds, and then the dogs do that intermediate work that he's doing. So.
Yes. Yeah.
So you want to tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah. So leading up to April of 2020, I was primarily personal training, during early years of motherhood. I didn't have much brain energy and brain power to put towards any new ideas, other than just kind of the personal training that I was comfortable with and had been doing for so long. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and not only did the gyms close down, which was fine in a sense because I have a fully functioning gym at my house, but I ended up losing a few clients that, collectively paid my mortgage and my car payment, and these were clients that I had for 4 years, 3 days a week. I never thought I would lose them. Like, as a personal trainer, like everyone that's a trainer has certain clients that's like, I know they're not going anywhere. And so you just like have that comfort that income is going to keep coming in. And I lost 2 clients that I never thought I would lose. And it was like this gut check moment of nothing is guaranteed, and additionally, the government telling us these businesses can't stay open and this is, your curfew or this or that. And like all these rules, and part of entrepreneurship is not having rules. And I had this moment of, oh, now I have rules. What am I going to do? And so I had about 3 days of a pity party, and which isn't like me. And I was like, all right, what are we going to do? And my long-term goal was not to personal train forever, because as my kids get busier, I have less hours and I want to travel and I want to do other things. And when you're only personal training, you have to be boots on the ground. You have to be there, or you don't work, you don't make money. And so I knew I needed to dial in my remote business. And so I'm like, what do people need right now? A lot of people are at home. A lot of people are trying to maintain their fitness at home, or maybe they're depressed and they don't have a fitness routine. What is it that's missing? And that's accountability. And so I came up with my remote program. I call it the accountability program, and it's all encompassing. It has a nutrition component. It has a workout component, and then it also has mindset activities, and then it has the accountability component, which is with me. And so while there are a million different remote workout programs, everything from the, CrossFit athletes that have come up with workout programs to these bodybuilding junkies, and everyone in between like has a fitness program that you can just buy for $10 a month and you have programming. I wanted to provide more. I'm like, how can I give them the personal training quality and feel remotely? And so I just focused all of my energy into building out my website, streamlining my programming into, I use True Coach, which has been great. I have all my programming in there, and I took all my nutrition knowledge and knowledge as a macro coach and dialed in the macro piece with that, and then putting out videos and creating a community online where people can, post different things. I give little weekly challenges of things to post in the group, and sometimes people do and sometimes people just watch, but posting recipes and videos and form check videos and mindset activities. I posted a video on Sunday just talking about how, we're all going through stuff and how to push through these times, and like, focusing on what you can control in your day-to-day life, and, surrendering to some things that are out of our control. And so I post just helpful content to this group, and we've really built this community across the country. You know, I have members, I have a group of women up in Canada that are in this program, and Alaska. And it's really cool to be able to connect. And I think that connection piece was really missing over the last year. And it's grown bigger than I could have imagined in a year's time.
So how do you grow something like that?
Consistency, like anything. Consistently posting about it, being about it, posting, you know, little workouts and macros and the lifestyle and, you know, hashtagging the program and just constantly posting info about it from a really genuine place, because it's what I believe in. It's what I do every day. And I love the connection with these members, and it's helpful when they post about it too, but it's just grown organically. Like, I'm so thankful that the members that have, some of the members that believed in the program, you know, the first month, I called it April accountability, and I didn't have a vision for it to become the accountability program. I just liked April accountability. Like, it just sounded good. And so, you know, April accountability turned into May accountability, turned into June accountability. And I didn't know how long it would last. And now it's just the accountability program. And it was scary at first because, you know, we like to wait for conditions to be perfect to do something, to do an idea. And for the first month I was like, oh no, I need to post videos for all of these workouts. I don't have any videos. And I was like, Steve, my husband, I was like, we got to go shoot some videos. And it's so funny. I just hired someone to go through all my YouTube videos and like make a list, because there's almost 400 demo videos and I post probably 20 new ones every month. And I was like, I need you to go through, and the ones that were filmed vertically, mark them down. The ones that don't have music, mark them down. The ones with bad lighting, mark them down. And I need to refilm all those videos. But the first month we didn't know. You know, Steve didn't know to film horizontally. I didn't know that on Apple or what is it? There's a iMovie is what it is, the iPhone editing app. I didn't know that I could mute the background noise and add music and, you know, crop this down. And so the first, you know, 50 videos are just like embarrassing. But they say if you don't go back and, you know, look at your first work, like, you should see growth. You know, you shouldn't be super embarrassed. You should be proud of the progress you've made. So like now the new videos, you know, Steve's got the panning down, and we figured out the timing and the add the music and the silence this and the best time for the lighting. And it's been cool. The people that have stuck around, you know, when there weren't warm-ups and when there weren't the videos with music and all these things. And I have some members that like have been with me from the beginning, and then they just paid for another year in full. They're like, we're with you. We see you getting better every month. Like, it's only going to get better. And it's like, motivates me, because it was a program that in the beginning I was like, I was honestly, I needed to figure out how to supplement my income. And now it's like what I'm super passionate about, and it's motivating. It's resparked like my motivation. I've had the best year, like monetarily speaking, but also like with my family and like with my own self-growth, like doing something, making something happen during a time where a lot of people just gave up or felt discouraged. Like, I figured out a way and pivoted, and it was really cool to provide a source of motivation for some people and give them something positive to focus on during a really dark time. But it also just like motivated, like, holy shit, I can do this. You know, it was really cool. And it honestly makes me feel unstoppable. Like, I like to think that anything I've ever set my mind out to, I've done, and I've done well, because that's the standard I have for myself. But really, when you do it, you're like, wow, like, I'm capable of so much. This is awesome. Like, what else can we do, you know? And it's cool that I have little boys that they can see me create something, you know? And they're a huge motivation for me for this.
So what's something you commonly see in your practice that you wish more people knew?
That you're not going to get this mind-blowing transformation in 4 to 8 weeks. Even if you sign up for a program, you're like, I'm going to do it for 8 weeks and see X result. It takes a lot of time and a lot of consistency to restructure your lifestyle. And most of the time people are bullshitting for about the either the first 4 weeks or like the second 4 weeks. Like people will either come in really hot, which if you come in too hot, you're probably going to fall off a little bit. Other people come in a little too cold and they're like, all right, I'm going to start out with this and then I'm going to add this, but it's like not enough. Like you have to have like this sweet spot of like commitment to the program where it's not, you're not trying to do everything perfect because then you get really frustrated and some people quit. And then other people just kind of BS their way through and they're like, oh no, I'm on it. Like I'm eating the right foods and I'm doing the workouts. I'm like, are you doing the workouts? Are you doing the workouts? Are you eating? Are you tracking macros? Are you like eyeball tracking? You know, like people are like, oh, I logged on my food. I'm like, you didn't even change the measuring like cups or the weight in grams. Like, did you weigh anything? They're like, no, I didn't weigh anything. I'm like, well, how are you tracking macros? Well, I just like kind of guesstimated. And I'm like, okay, so week number 71, we're going to start weighing our food.
I want to highlight too, like your program in general. It's you really are able to make things simple for folks. I think like you have everything that you mentioned in the program, but I also want to highlight the different types of clients you see, right? We've actually met from like the pregnancy and postpartum, one of the courses we've taken together or taken separately, but we're in this group together. And I want to just highlight that because you have worked with, I'd say not necessarily a special population, but there are special considerations when you're pregnant and you're postpartum. You want to talk a little bit about, how you've incorporated that into your program?
Yeah, 100%. So working with pregnant and postpartum women, similarly to never imagining myself having kids, I never put too much thought into working with, I would say, a special population of pregnant and postpartum women. And it wasn't until I got pregnant and realized how much information's not out there. And I was going to a CrossFit gym at the time and I was pregnant and like, the first workout, had running and jumping and like GHD sit-ups. And I was like, should I be doing this? And they're like, well, you've been doing it up to this point, so do what you've always done. And I was like, yo, I've never been pregnant before, so how can I do what I've always done? Like, I'm working with a different body. Like, that didn't make sense to me, but no one had better advice. And then I remember there was and they're like, well, coach so-and-so was doing muscle ups at week 36. And like, just in my brain, like, that just doesn't even sound smart. Like, to be doing these, like, I've seen people snap a ring not pregnant and break their neck and have serious injuries. And so it's like, I know that that's not a good idea, but like, I also know that just doing nothing is not probably the best idea. So what is it? And so anyways, I got through my first pregnancy with not a whole lot of knowledge. My first postpartum, I was on the I need to bounce back mindset and jumped. I was like, I'm going to see what my 4-week postpartum back squat PR is. And the coaches there were like, yeah, go for it. Once again, knew nothing. And so then I got pregnant again and I was like, all right, it's time to dive in and learn more about my body and like what it's doing and just like how to appropriately program and speak to these populations. And through the Brianna Battle's pregnancy and postpartum athleticism course that we, connected through, I learned so much. And so I take that information and I apply it to the programming. So I'm giving in my program, I have, the barbell workout, the dumbbell workout if you have minimal equipment, but then I'm also providing a scaled option that is perfect for my pregnant clients. And I give suggestions based on trimester and certain things. Like I'm fine with running and jumping rope in the first trimester is still okay as long as you're feeling good. And then once we hit that second trimester, I start giving, let's start tapering these high demand impact movements and direct core work out. And I'm scaling them for something that's going to feel better. And then another thing that we don't think about as coaches, I think, is how mentally defeating a certain timed workouts can be. Like if it's a 5 individually timed rounds, I would change something like that to a 15-minute AMRAP take some of the like mental pressure off these athletes and just let them work through the work and still be working in the same time domain, but requiring a different demand from them. And that's going to make them feel better about the work that they're putting in and not like so stressful, because being pregnant is already stressful enough. And so just being able to take the knowledge that I have and apply it to this remote program so I can work with all different types of people.
Love it. So what's something you've been working on professionally, personally, physically, or just something you're excited about?
Well, I am continuing to, sharpen this accountability program and growing my team. I just recently hired an assistant to kind of help me tighten up some of my hodgepodge of systems on my computer and my desktop and all of that stuff. I am getting better on a personal level at saying no. And that's everything from new client leads for personal training. If I don't think it's a good fit, or if the timeline doesn't match up with my schedule, I'm getting better at saying no. There was a time in my life where I said yes to everything because I didn't understand the importance of saying no. And so for me, I'm setting personal boundaries. My phone was just blowing up with like questions from different people and clients and things. And so setting a personal boundary, like these are family hours and I'll get back to this when I'm in work hours again. I think we take advantage of people being so accessible at times. And when people see me on social media, that I'm posting, that means that I have to automatically answer my phone. And I had to remove myself and say, no, I can still post stuff on my social media that I'm out with my family and not answer this text right away. And I think that's tough for us to do because we feel like we owe everyone an immediate response and we don't. And so I think just trying to like navigate the boundaries of, I don't have set work hours. But I don't want my kids to grow up seeing me always on my phone. And I want them to feel like yesterday I had to answer an email that I completely forgot about. And my boys came in and like, Mommy, like, come play tag with me. And I was like, 1 second, buddy. And then the other one came in. He's like, Mommy, come play tag with me. And like, they just so badly want their parents to be present, and, not having the TV on constantly, not always being in front of a device. And I just want to be a present parent. So that's, on a personal level, what I'm working on.
That's awesome. What's something you've learned and you wish you knew sooner?
I would say just to continue to believe that you're capable. So I personally get caught in the imposter syndrome, right? Where all these other people are doing what you want to do. Why even bother? And so I wish that I had have just went for like this remote business. Like I had seen so many successful remote businesses that I was like, there's no way I can hold a candle to that. I'm just going to stick with what I know. And it was just, I let what other people were doing prevent me from doing it in my own way. And when I finally did do it in my own way, it was great. And so I just needed to stop stepping on my own toes and just do it. Because there are enough people for everyone to be successful, and there are enough people that are going to believe in what you're doing. And so I just needed to stop listening to the outside noise that I was creating in my own world by what other people were doing.
I love that. And then what's I know cheat meal is a term that we just use because people know it. But What's something that you like really love to eat?
So something that I really love to eat that I don't eat often is like a country fried steak over like really like thick. I eat potatoes often, but I don't eat I don't put like butter in mine. So when you go to a restaurant, you order a country fried steak with like the real chunky like mashed potatoes that have like butter and gravy with like corn on the cob covered in butter with like the garlic toast. There was a meal actually at Yard House in town, and I don't think they still have it. And I think it also came with baked beans, and it was just like this big old like piece of fried chicken. It would probably make me so sick, but that really. Different than you thought?
I love it.
It's a good one. I lived in Georgia for a while, and that's definitely a staple there. So
Yeah.
That's a good meal. And what do you want to leave the listeners with?
Let's go back to this consistency piece. So whatever it is in life, be consistent with it. We're sleep training our 2-year-old right now. Again, we slept trained him when he was, 5 months old, but we're redoing it at 2.5. And whether it's fitness, sleeping, like teaching your kids how to sleep again, nutrition, consistency is the key. And I think we're always looking for an easier route or, the magic answer. Oh, I'm going to try this diet. I'm going to try this type of workout. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. It's got to be Peloton now. Oh, nope, it's running. Oh, nope, it's this plan. It's like, nope, you don't need a different plan. You just need to be consistent with the one that you're currently doing. And that there's not this magic timeline. Like we get so hung up on, I'm going to do an 8-week program. I'm going to do a 12-week program. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. What are you going to do after that? Like commit for the foreseeable future and just do it. Just put in the work and don't, if I want to lose this much weight by my birthday. And if I don't, it didn't work. Like remove the timeline. Goals are good. It's good to have these intermittent goals, but you have to look at it in the end game in the long term and just commit to consistency. And it's just what you're going to do. And you're going to keep doing it until you get the result that you want.
I love that. And Kristi, how can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at FitLV, Fitness and Nutrition. My website is also fitlvfitness.com. And then you can type that into Facebook as well. I think it's just Kristi Vaccaro, personal trainer, will pop up my FitLV page.
All right. And we'll put links in the show notes for you. And we really appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, it was a
Really
blast, guys.
enjoyed
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank you for listening to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the time with our guests as much as we did. It would help us out so much if you could share, subscribe, or review our podcast or any combination of the three. Thanks again, and remember to take care of yourself.